and I think it's a great day to show you getting a fire started in my wood stove. If you've never done that before, you can do it. You can have wood heat and really enjoy it, and it's not that hard to do. It can be a little difficult at first. You might have to learn how your particular stove works. Sometimes just the way they draft is a little bit different and can make it trickier, but I'm going to show you what I do. Got my matches ready, and I've got all of my tinder and my kindling and my firewood. We're going to go through all of it from start to finish. Here we go. Wood heat. This is my favorite axe because it's like a maul, but it's not real heavy, it's not real big, but it does a great job, usually. Alright, this is a special tip. Removing the bark from your firewood, if it's going to be sitting inside of your house, helps to ensure that you will not have gigantic, creepy spiders that come out, and yeah, just believe me, and all this extra effort, it's worth it. And there will not be a piece of firewood coming into my house that does not have every single piece of bark smashed off of it so that I don't have a giant wolf spider crawling towards me in the middle of the night again. Into the woodshed. See this nice bit right here? See that nice bit of wood? Look at all the birch bark that's on it. Let's take this. Look at all of that. So I had been using newspaper to start my fires with, and this year I got so much birch in my firewood that I thought, I don't like the way the newspaper looks. It's aesthetics. I don't know, but it just feels so much nicer to be using this natural product right from the wood itself, like it's asking me to start a good fire. So this is what I'm using. This is a half round of cedar. I split it. Was not easy to split it. I didn't use my little electric splitter. I used a wedge and a log to go ahead and whack the wedge so I wasn't hitting the steel with more steel, and split this in half with it took me a lot of tries, and I love this for my kindling. This is the kindling I will use first. The birch bark, then the cedar kindling. Then I put a little hardwood kindling on top of that, and then I go ahead and put these on. There's maybe people who are watching this who've done this so many times they don't know what the big deal is, but for somebody who hasn't started a wood fire before, of course you could use your newspaper, but this birch bark, if it's available, and if you're outside somewhere and there is birch bark available, you don't want to strip trees or cut it, but if there are loose pieces that you can peel a little bit off, a little bit goes a long way. Now I'm going to show you the professional method that I use for splitting this cedar. So this is using one of my newer camera techniques, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Picking up the firewood. It smells really good. This pot is full of birch bark. So, step 1 will be the birch bark. On top of that will be the cedar. On top of that will be the hardwood kindling. And then the logs. This is the ash bucket. Some of them come with a lid. You can get a lid for the top of it, which is extra nice. I don't have that, but I have the ash bucket. First thing first is to take out any old ashes you've got. Put them in really gently so that you don't make a lot of dust, which honestly it's kind of unavoidable. You will make a lot of dust. Now that we're back inside, I have cleaned the ashes out of the wood stove. And on the inside of my stove, I've placed firebrick. Firebrick on the bottom, firebrick on the sides of the stove. What I did was I added a second layer of firebrick. It sort of slows the burn of the fire a little bit, and it's not like a rocket mass heater, which is what I truly want, but it was the best thing I could think of to do simply, very simply, to just make my firebox smaller and give me more mass to hold the heat later. And so far, it's been pretty good. And I'm going to give you a look on the inside so you can see what all these fire bricks look like the way I set them up. The damper inside the stove, as you probably know, is a round piece of metal, and it's got this rod that passes through it with the little handle, this handle here. And so right now, that circular piece is facing this way so that air can pass up and down through the chimney and no smoke's going to come back. I have a nice thermometer here. If it gets too hot on that chimney, guess what? The thermometer will fall off. Here are some of the fire bricks I was talking about. This is the 1-inch thick fire brick. And then I've got some of these 2-inch thick fire bricks too. These were just some extras I had. And so I placed them on top for more heat. And yeah, that's just a weirdo idea for more heat too. Don't ask too many questions. So this is somebody's homemade stove. This is my damper on the bottom. And then there's this hole, and then there's this one. When you would close this, these two are still open, drawing plenty of air, okay, to feed the fire. It turned out that two were just it was too much. So a friend of mine came up with that idea, and that's worked great. So that's what I do. And I'm keeping this open for now because I will be starting the fire. Can you see here? Actually over here, there's a lot of ash on the top of that one. And then here's the fire bricks on this side. The bottom, those are all set in, okay? And can you see way in the back? I've got quite a bunch of them stacked in there. And then let's see, I'm gonna see if you can also, so there's one that's sort of setting up top. All right, and it makes the firebox quite a bit smaller and I think more efficient. I like the heat that I've gotten out of it. Let's go ahead and kindle a fire. I always leave a few pieces really close to the front. You know, I can get to it to light it. And here's that cedar. It smells so good. When you start a fire, you want to make sure that you don't want to stack things so tightly that the air isn't going to move around freely enough to burn, to get the oxygen in there. So now this is some hardwood. Okay, these are some smaller hardwood pieces to start off. Don't think I have some specific pattern here because I don't. It seems good, so that's what I do. All right, close it up. It's going. And in just a minute, I'll add a couple of smaller pieces of wood. Not quite kindling, I don't know, intermediate size, and then some bigger ones. It sounds like it's really going well. You can follow those simple steps. Remember, some nice dry tinder to put in the bottom, and then you want some nice smaller kindling, like my cedar, which starts so well, and on top of that something a little bit bigger. That's the way I do it. And then once I can see that it's actually it's caught pretty well, that's when I go ahead and lay the rest of the wood on. I won't close this one first on my stove. I'll leave this one open to keep drawing plenty of oxygen for the burn. And the one I'm going to close is going to be the flue that I showed you earlier. So I'm going to flip that so that it will be most of the way shut. And one way that I'll also know that I want to go ahead and close that, looking at the temperature gauge on the stovepipe, it's color coded, and you'll know if it's in the yellow, it's a little too cool for you to close down the damper yet. If it's in the orange range, in that temperature range, then that's a good time to go ahead and start damping down the stove. If it's way over into the red, you've gotten too hot and you better damp it down right now. That's it. Okay. Voila. Shall we take another peek inside? Oh my. Oh, it's so pretty. And it's contained, which is one of the reasons it's so pretty. Okay. There we go. I'm also going to close this now. And it's God, it's so easy. Just like that.